Welcome back to another episode of Eternal Backlog. We are back off of the festivities of Gamescom. I'm here with Shady. How's it going? I mean, wow. It was been an interesting Gamescom, hasn't it?
I've had a moment to calm down, that's for sure.
What an unbelievable... We actually just, around about on the same day, or 24 hours, of putting up our reaction, because it was so bad as a general show that we were like, do we want to put this up? And we were so annoyed that we ended up like pretty much, the beeper would have been out so much, but I managed to salvage some stuff from it. But that's why the full reaction wasn't there. So today's episode, I thought we'd do a bit of a fallout episode around Gamescom itself. We've got a chunk load of news to get through as well. And I think... Have you finally had a chance to play some games this 2-week bracket? Because I've had a chance to play some games again at last.
I've played a little bit. Nothing really crazy. I mean, Vampire Survivors made it back onto the hard drive because of an update. So whacked that on. Got 100 odd G. Deleted it. Guilty Gear Strive's leaving Game Pass, so I thought I'd try and milk a few achievements out of that.
Yeah.
A bit of Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer, finally prestiged. Could finally delete that multiplayer. As you can notice, there's a theme here. I'm struggling for hard drive space. But that didn't come at the cost of installing the Black Ops 6 beta, so yeah, not too much.
Was ridiculous. It was on my Series S, by the way. It wanted to do that update because I've got it on both machines, and it said I had to delete a bunch of stuff. I was like, no. I've already got... I've now officially got Modern Warfare on just one of the two Xbox consoles because I need some space back, similarly to you. So, but yes, I know we've been playing some games. I wonder if we could pivot away from that and just get into the real meat and gravy here, because a lot happened on Gamescom. We've got a bit of an extended feature around what's going on at Xbox right now. I think I would love to start there and then perhaps drift into the general Gamescom announcements. So I think we'll start there because we have to address the elephant in the room, and that was the Indiana Jones announcement that has really kind of kicked all of this off again. It's like we can't go a month. You said it perfectly, that it's like having an abusive relationship with Microsoft. Yeah.
It is, because as soon as you iron it out and the therapist kicks in and says, well, don't hit each other, and then a few weeks later you get smacked again, isn't it? Yeah. But this time I feel like I'm being abused by Phil. Take that whatever way you want. It's just it's a non-stop job covering Xbox.
Yeah,
it really is. I've got my own thoughts about Gamescom's opening night live show. Mm-hmm. Which I'll just say right now, I think it's probably one of the worst opening shows I've seen in a very long time. Yeah. Unless you like God Sims, top-down RTS mouse control God Sims and cooking. Yeah. If you're like me and you need a bit more meat
and
on
animals.
The Nintendo crowd. Not singling you out, but you know what I mean. It was just horrible, that show. Really was.
Yeah.
Two
so
hours.
So much RTS.
2 hours of what? Mouse clicking?
Yeah, even a little smattering of a bit of United Nations in there.
United Nations. What was the award again? The Green Award.
Climate Award or something. Oh,
yeah. And Tencent of all companies won it.
Which is
we're not going to
so
get into
abstract.
the politics of that.
We won't. But that,
you
wouldn't. You could have gone to any bookie and they would have took an outside bet on that being the winner.
I tell you what, I would have put some money on that. But yeah, it's just it's gotten to the point where Gamescom, or at least Jeff Keighley's shows, have become the new Eurovision. Whoever you've got great relationships,
feel like Eurovision, yeah,
innit?
Yeah.
If you've got great relationships with certain developers, publishers, gaming bodies, or even in this case the United Nations, then you might get a bit of sponsorship money.
Or if you've got a mobile game that you're prepared to grease up the
Jeff
hand
Keighley.
of
Mr. Jeff.
Unbelievable. But it was that Indiana Jones announcement that really left a sour taste in the mouth. And for those that don't know, or basically, Indiana Jones was debuted for Xbox. We were super excited about it. I mean, personally, I would have took a third-person view on it, but it's first person. But that's not where the animosity is driven from. It's down to the fact that we've obviously started to see games move over from the Xbox library onto PlayStation. It all kicked off around about April this year. And now we've found that Indiana Jones is not going to be finding its way onto PlayStation in 2026. Not going to be finding its way onto PlayStation in summer of 2025. It's going to be finding its way onto PlayStation in March of 2025 when the game comes out early December on Xbox. This isn't even a 6-month exclusivity window. This is what agitates me the most. You know, give yourself 12 months or something like that, which maybe might not even be long enough to make people consider, you know, dipping into Xbox hardware. But for something that's not even 4 months is crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
I think the real slap in the face is that this is one of the big IPs that Xbox fans have been waiting for. This and Starfield was a bit of a disappointment to many on launch. So we kind of thought, okay, well, maybe Indiana Jones will be that pick-me-upper. And it looks great. It's from a very reputable developer, the Machine Games, who have made the Wolfenstein games. Very great playing games. But it's the fact that they announced the launch date for PlayStation at the same time as Xbox. Yeah. We're not, you know, we've said it multiple times here. We try to be platform agnostic, but my primary is Xbox, as is yours. And if I put my Xbox gamer hat on, there isn't much left tying me to this platform anymore.
No.
If everything's going to eventually end up on PlayStation, do I need bespoke Xbox hardware anymore? Because all this is doing is alienating that crowd. A lot of people have moved over. A lot of people moved over in droves during the Xbox One launch with Don Matrick, and that's a name that seemingly still comes up till this day, 10 years later.
It will. I was literally on Friday night, I was going back through old Xbox press conferences, and it even feels like they've lost the edge.
Yeah.
You know, those early ones during the 360 era, they were really riding on the crest of a wave. And was it Barra there? It was within that team as well.
Yeah, Mikey Barra. Moji Nelson's gone.
Yeah, and it was just it was an edgy Xbox.
Peter Moore.
All of that's some of Peter Moore's. You watch
some
of Peter Moore's stuff.
With the Halo announcement and then the Grand Theft Auto 4 exclusivity for like 6 months. Yeah.
His early stuff, by the way, with Xbox is a little, I don't know. It's not great.
But he left on a legacy.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, look, I get it. The industry's changing, you know. We've got to make money somehow. And the only thing this makes sense for is Microsoft as a business or Xbox as a business. I get it. You want your games on as many platforms as possible so people play them, make money. Maybe they'll buy the microtransactions if there's any. And then we keep this thing of ours going, essentially.
Yeah.
But like I said, if I know that this is the way that Microsoft is now flexing their muscles, then come next gen, which is not far away, we're talking like we'll probably get an announcement in the next 12 months with a release, definitely in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
I've said it on Twitter or X. I'm very close to making that dive all the way in to PlayStation. And the real kicker is PlayStation is down on its knees right now.
Oh, I know.
They could have used Indiana Jones as that kind of one more nail in the coffin before we give you that kill shot. You know, remember what you did to us 15 years ago? Right.
Oh.
Here's Starfield. Right now we got Indiana Jones. Watch what we do next. We got Gears of War. Do I dare say it?
They had an open goal here, and they've just.
They did. They cocked it up like the England team.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't just the only thing, because we've had the Indiana Jones. We've also had a few other things, and I called this the quadrant of disappointment. So, not only is there a new twist in the Black Myth WuKong release that's been kicking around here, so we actually have Paul Tassi, who is a reporter at Forbes, suggesting that Sony did an under-the-cover deal that didn't involve marketing, but they did some under thing that said, you know, we'll if you release on us for an exclusive window, we're not going to go and include the marketing strategy behind it, but it was almost like a, I don't know, behind scenes payment. I don't know. That's a really weird one, because we got told originally that this was going to be some memory leak issue or something to do with the parity between the S and the X, and there's been a new twist on that front. So Black Myth Wukong, which has probably been, at least this month, the most successful game to come out, is obviously absent from Xbox. Then, if you look at the whole MT framework with Capcom piece again...
If it is indeed MT framework.
Wow, this is the thing. So all we literally have is Jez Corden's word that Microsoft are working behind closed scenes with Capcom to resolve this issue. And my thing is, why? When you are seeing people wanting some answers on this, why aren't you even dedicating a sentence or 2 sentences on an Xbox Wire post just to...
I'll tell you why. I think you're right. The more I think about it, if this was something that was being fixed, they'd speak about it. Hey guys, we know that there's a need for X, Y, and Z. Right, and we're working on it. And if Xbox has done that in the past, we know we screwed up here, we're working on it, stay tuned. So people can go, oh, okay, it's coming on Xbox, I'm not going to waste my money buying it on multiple other platforms.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's not being spoken about just proves that you can't really put out an Xbox Wire post that says, hey guys, PlayStation got the exclusive rights, we're sorry. That's not how this works. So I kind of am leaning towards it, because if we indeed saw the black, what's it called again? Black
Myth Wukong.
Black Myth Wukong. And we're talking 3 Capcom collections announced this year.
Yeah.
We're Marvel vs. Capcom collection, huge, if not arguably one of the biggest titles in the last 10 years. SVC Chaos, and the more recent Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which not only contains Power Stone 1 and 2, but Capcom vs. SNK 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Huge games here. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And it doesn't make... this is why I get so... It doesn't make sense to... Why would Microsoft have this situation where they'll talk to insiders to branch their message out, but yet at the same time, some of these sources have absolutely been bang on the money about these games going over to Xbox. It's like, what is going on with the comms team at Xbox? They need to call in brand strategists, the whole thing, because even having World of Warcraft on your stage at Gamescom, putting it under the Xbox banner, is another really stupid thing. I would say, would that even pass the sniff test of trading standards in my country? Because if someone sees World of Warcraft under the Xbox banner, I'll be like, oh, not a big PC fan, don't like having to mess around with optimization, all of this other stuff. World of Warcraft's coming to Xbox.
Yeah.
I'll buy an Xbox. I've been wanting to play this game for ages. I know it's probably down to its last ever DLC or whatever. The fact that they did that with, not only just that, they did it with another title. I think we even noticed it at their Xbox showcase that there was one game in there as well, which I can't remember which it was. I don't know if it was Flintlock or it was something. It wasn't that. It was something else. But that was PC only, and they bundled it into their showcase.
Yeah.
So you've got to separate the brand. If you clearly state it's for Game Pass for Windows, call it Game Pass for Windows. You don't have to have the Xbox brand identity around the PC gaming side of things. It confuses people. The names of the consoles are confusing enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just really frustrating to see just the lack of... we've seen so many gaffes. We saw the Feel the Burn gaff from the comms team. We saw the issues around the Hellblade marketing absence, that magically, all of a sudden, there was a marketing plan, not until people kicked off about it.
Yeah. Redfall.
And it's... Yeah, and it's time and time and time again.
Yeah. Someone
needs to step in there and say, look, if you are doing social media and comms, you need to be aware of the psyche of the players. Or you need to be aware of what else is happening at the company and think about the optics and go, okay, if I post this out, well, maybe that's not good if I laid 1,000 people off today. Maybe I'll call it something else. No, but things like that.
This is where I'm a bit confused, because I want to say over the last year, maybe year and a half, on many fronts, the marketing or the messaging team, comms team, has improved. We've got Tina, I think her name's Tina Amini, and she's been kind of the brain behind the developer directs for the past 2 years. And a lot of the Xbox Wire posts and that whole communication strategy piece kind of falls under her now. She has made some amazing strides in the communications piece. The problem is, I don't think this is a communications issue anymore. I think this is a leadership issue. I think she's only going to be communicating what she's been told to communicate, ultimately. How they communicate it, I think, comes under her. But if Phil Spencer says, look, I don't care if you like it or not, Indiana Jones is going to PS5, figure out the best way we can soften the blow. Well, I still wouldn't agree that announcing the launch date at the same time as Xbox is the best way of going about it.
No.
But at the same time, I don't know what we're trying to go for with that.
Or was it Xbox that made the call on that, or?
I don't know. I really don't know. But then I'm looking at, I've got a graphic in front of me right now, and it's kind of all of the officially announced first-party games from both Xbox and PlayStation. And when I said earlier that PlayStation's on its knees, right? We've got 8 games that we know about in the PlayStation pipeline. Concord, which recently launched, has fallen flat on its face.
We'll talk about that later.
We've got, it says Marathon here, but that's multi-plat, so I'm not going to include that. Until Dawn's a remake. Horizon Lego game, it's cool, but really is that a first-party major hitter?
That's also on Switch as well.
Exactly. Other than that, what are the really big ones here? We've got Astrobot, which, believe it or not, this is actually going to be bigger than a lot of people think. Wolverine and Death Stranded 2. Okay, those are the 3 big ones that I'm seeing there. Xbox, we've got South of Midnight, Clockwork Revolution, Gears of War E-Day, Project Mara, Avowed Outer Worlds 2, Fable, State of Decay 3, Towerborn, which is another thing. Perfect Dark, Doom, Blade. I'm going to go as far as saying Blade's going to be the next on there. The next new IP that they announced a release date, that's going to be on both. It's going to be multi-plat.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me.
Because they didn't even have the balls to say exclusively on Xbox during Summer Game Fest.
Not once,
Not once. In terms of other games that will eventually make its way over, or again, Doom Dark Ages, we know that's going to be multi-plat. That's already been confirmed. Outer Worlds 2, I can see going over. I really can, because that was the first one was a multi-plat game. Contraband, I think, will be multi-plat, because I got a feeling that's going to be an online shooter, free to play. I'm not too sure. Elder Scrolls. Now, this is arguably going to be this is Xbox's next crown jewel. Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah.
Are Bethesda or Xbox going to do the right thing and keep this Windows and Xbox only? My bet is not.
They didn't with the Oblivion.
Well, let's dig deeper into
this. They did with Oblivion, Skyrim, I mean.
There have been leaked emails around the time that the FTC case was wrapping up with Activision. And one of the emails was from Pete Hines or including Todd Howard. And they were talking amongst themselves, and this was when they said that Call of Duty was still going to be coming out on PlayStation. Pete Hines said to his team, it'd be nice if we were given the heads up. Why do our games only come out on Xbox? So there is internal turmoil to some degree there. And maybe after some conversations and this leaking and Xbox's new strategies make as much money as possible, I'm almost with 100% certainty saying that Elder Scrolls 6 will be multi-plat. Blade and Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, I mean, given the track record of what's been happening in the last 12 months, 100%. And I was watching, just going back to the release of GTA 4. The Ballad of Gay Tony and the Liberty City Stories were exclusive to Xbox. Those days have gone, man. It's just...
That's when Xbox cared.
When's they going to do anything about that anymore?
Are you ready for new dealership? Do you think they need new leadership? Phil's done a lot of good for Xbox. He has. I'm not taking any of that away from him. But where is he heading?
Well, the big question I have is, does it matter what leadership comes in? Because if they're getting overruled, I mean, this is the one thing that we don't know is has there ever been friction in the background between the bigger parts of Microsoft? Have they allowed Xbox to run independently lately after that ABK deal? Because it's clear to me Investors want return on the ABK deal. It's forced their hand. And do you know how I would have handled it? I would have been openly communicating to Xbox players and said, look, we paid a lot for the ABK deal. For the next 2 years, we're going to be throwing a bunch of our titles over on the PlayStation to help bring back some of those costs. But that's not our long-term strategy. Our long-term play will be to put more games exclusively on Xbox. But for the next few years, whilst we ride out this economic storm, it's going to be a little bit like that. But we know you guys want a reason to play on Xbox, and we will return that as our core focus. But right now, we just can't do that. Now, imagine if they did that. A lot of people would say, do you know what? I can grin and bear it for a couple of years. You know? And they probably would.
Well, you know who is doing that?
What, Sony?
PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly.
The best place to play our games is PlayStation.
Yeah.
But if you wait sort of 2 to 4 years, they will come out on PC. It's simple. We know it. If you're a PC gamer, you know it's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah,
you're
and
right.
if it's a multiplayer, heavy focus game, it comes day one.
Exactly. We know
which
that
makes sense.
Microsoft are not hemorrhaging money. They are the most, valuable company on earth. So is this a call by Satya? Is this an ABK return strategy? Because we knew during the court proceedings that they had to keep Call of Duty specifically, on PlayStation and other platforms for a minimum of 10 years. So that in itself could have paid for the ABK acquisition. None of this makes sense.
I'll tell you what isn't going to make sense. You wait until you hear this one.
Go on. So,
Xbox helped financially support the development of Kunitsu Gami for Capcom.
You mean in the same way that... Is it multiplat?
It's multiplat.
Oh, for God's sake! So when Sony did that, they got Street Fighter 5
I double check
exclusive.
it, but it was bringing up records that was.
So let me throw a curveball in here. This is what I don't understand. I'm going to put my simple Tim hat on, right? Okay. The economy's not great. People are struggling. Prices have risen because of inflation and all that. I get that. Mm-hmm. But for somebody on a budget, we have Game Pass. We've had Game Pass for a long time now. 5, 6, bordering 7 years maybe. So you've got a really cheap and accessible way to, a route to entry into your ecosystem compared to Sony and Nintendo's offerings. Why would you not keep more games on Game Pass and keep that monthly subscription rolling? We all know that's the business model now. You buy a game for $70, you pay it once, and maybe you'll buy one in 6 months, maybe you won't.
Yeah.
But if you've bundled in Xbox Live into Game Pass like they have, then you're going to be paying that monthly fee regardless of whether you download games or not. None of this makes sense. Oh, we got to keep the business healthy. We've got to put our games on other platforms. No, grow Game Pass, for God's sake.
Yeah.
There's
that's
your
what they
money
could do. This is what I said a few episodes ago, didn't I?
It doesn't make sense.
They could have these games that are Game Pass exclusive. You can't get them. You can't even buy them in the store. They're Game Pass exclusive. The only way you can access them.
This is going to hurt them in the long run. There isn't going to be an Xbox. We know the next generation's not far off. That's confirmed. But after that, I don't see Xbox continuing, because we know that none of these holders make money off of the hardware. They're sold at an incredible, reduced rate. You can't get the equivalent spec of an Xbox or a PlayStation 5 for $500. You just cannot. People have tried on YouTube. You can Google it. It's nowhere near. So the value is tremendous. You get a great deal. But if I, as Xbox, have now become a third-party publisher, and you can buy all of our catalog on PlayStation or get Game Pass for PC, well, in Microsoft's eyes, we save money by not having to go down the R&D route of putting hardware out and going through all of that, and we still get to make a lot of games. I mean, it's worked incredibly well for Steam.
Yeah.
And Valve. Why would they not?
Yeah.
I don't know. None of this makes sense. None of it does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And look, I'm starting to think Timdog was right, mate. Honestly. He kicked off back in February and everyone thought, you're being over the top here. Maybe you're just like clout chasing for something. The guy said that this is going to be happening more and more and more. He called it. He kind of put his name out there, took all of the abuse. Well, what's coming to fruition right now?
One thing, and that's the Indiana Jones announcement. Because you got to remember, even when this happened beginning of the year and everyone started jumping ship, Phil Spencer specifically said we're putting 4 games on there. He was asked by Tina Amini, are any of those games Starfield or Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Phil Spencer said, I can confirm it's not Starfield and Indiana Jones.
But was that for the first 4?
That's the debate.
Right.
So that's exact. So a lot of people are calling Phil a liar. He knew what he was doing. He's a CEO. He did this whole spin on the media. And other people are saying, as a CEO, you should know exactly how that would have been taken, regardless of what your intentions were or may have been. You know that people are going to hold that. You know once shit's on the internet, it's going to live forever.
Yeah.
So, whether he intended for it to be only for the first 4 or not, I'm still holding his feet to the fire.
Yeah.
You I don't know.
I mean, I would put a question mark against it personally.
Because you go from, we're putting 4 games that have been out for a minimum a year. This was his criteria.
He said we would review how those perform in terms of what we want to do next steps.
Yeah.
So that's something that we do know that he said.
But he also said it's got to be out for a minimum of a year. The gamer sort of interaction is sort of decreasing less and less people are playing it. From that perspective, it makes sense. You get to make more money off of games that are no longer popping, so to speak. But Indiana Jones is not an online game.
No, and it's not been out a year.
It's not been out a year. It's not even going to be out 3 months.
Yeah. Now, it is interesting, and I think the debate will continue to rage onwards, and I just think they need to... the easiest thing for them to do, and they never really came out... So they came out with that Xbox Wire podcast that I feel like we need to follow up now. I know, we just need them to say, look, well, just be ultimately clear. Be transparent about it to players.
You know what I need? I need Phil to get up on stage and have a Trump-style debate, and the audience just rapid fires questions across the room, and he's got to stop all those flying tomatoes coming from all directions. I think we need that. We're at that point now. How are you? Sorry, go on.
Well, I would just like to see a bit of fire behind Xbox again, and just say, look, you're seeing if Sony are doing these under the table deals for exclusivity, well, why don't you, shots fire back? If Sony don't want to put any games on Xbox and you're extending an olive branch saying when everyone plays, everyone wins, or whatever he used as the terminology for it. But if Sony are being completely opposite to that, if they're doing certain things to, withhold even classic games, I mean, you could still argue maybe that's the real story around the Capcom thing. Then why aren't they just engaging and just say, look, don't just sit down and take it. Come back with something else. Do something that... If they're going to be like that, then why don't you just be like that as well?
When you're in third place, it's incredibly easy to say, when we all play, we all win. But when your biggest competitor is on its knees, leadership's no longer there, they've got 2 CEOs now divided up by region, they've got this free-to-play microtransaction roadmap for the foreseeable next 2 to 3 years. You got to put that kill shot in. We've gone through the 10 years of the Xbox One mishandling. It's time to turn those tables around. You've got studios now. You've clearly opened the checkbook up. Like, what are we... there's nothing that makes sense about this. It's like he wants to maintain a strong third place rather than, you know what? Second place looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Step up. Nintendo's got their IPs all locked down to the Switch. Sony have got theirs locked down to the PlayStation. You want to continue being the laughingstock of the gaming industry? It's what competition's about. You don't buy Activision and say, that's it. We can be comfortable being in third place now. No.
Well, just do one or the other, because we'll be endlessly talking about this.
Yeah.
Either do one or the other. Just at this point, either exit the hardware race and be a massive, big publisher, or go the course, stay the course, make hardware, and actually compete. And that should be the lines of competition. If you make hardware, you should be competing. You should be competing if you're making hardware. Yeah. If you're not making hardware, well,
continue
you're just a big publisher. You'll go down the Sega route, but maybe just have a bit more punch than what Sega is these days compared to what they used to be.
What's your relationship like with Xbox? Has that changed anything for you? Because I'm pretty much jumping ship. Unless something changes.
I'm interested to see what happens come the end of this year, because they did tout that they were going to make some announcement of what the new piece is, this new hardware is. What I'm not a fan of is mid-gen refresh hardware. So I will not be buying a PS5 Pro when that comes out. When
Grand Theft Auto 6.
Not even with that. No, I'm not buying a console. By the way, on that, can we just... Because I was watching some footage of a guy in a GameStop picking up Halo 3 ODST. You might have even seen it. It's been doing the rounds on X. Recorded on a VHS. It reminded people of the midnight launch and what that experience used to be like. Can you imagine if Rockstar said, look,
physical only?
We want to bring that... physical only for a week, right? So you flood the retails a week early from the digital downloads, and you put on the midnight launch event. It's set in the timeline of when, you used to go to game shops to buy these things. Or is it? No, it might not be set in the same timeline. But anyway, what a wonderful idea that would be to try and rekindle the midnight launch. And it would work with Rockstar. It's the type of game it would work.
But there's another problem now. Do we even have enough retail outlets to hold that capacity? Because a lot's been closed down.
But it's going to turn into like Black Friday, and there'll be people like fighting each other for copies of that game.
Yeah, in true Grand Theft Auto style.
Well, yeah, exactly. What an event! It would dominate the news for the day as well.
What was the last physical launch you went to?
Midnight launch. Oh,
mine was Halo Reach.
Was it?
I went to Game on Oxford Street. Yeah.
I think mine was Grand Theft Auto 5. Xbox 360 version. I think that was the very last one. They did midnight launches for that, and it was quite popular.
I Tesco'd that one the morning of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the old gaming stains.
I remember. I did go to the San Andreas midnight launch though. Or some right shady characters. That one.
There's a big smell of weed, probably.
A lot of substance, a lot of hoodies,
a
lot of rap music. Yeah, it was. I definitely thought I was going to get Grand Theft Auto that night.
I'd love to do it, or even midnight. When these new consoles come out, do a midnight launch. Bring back some of that. We've lost so much of that, and it would be nice for people who didn't get to experience that to know what it was like, because there'll be an appetite for it again, because there's a whole different ball game.
I tell you what, I do miss the music launches. It used to be on Tuesdays instead of Fridays.
Yeah.
And so Tuesday morning you'd wake up, run down to your nearest HMV, wait for that album, and then you're like, oh, you know what? Since we're out, let's grab something to eat. You go down there with a couple of mates, grab something to eat, and then you know what? I need a new Roadman outfit. Get some trackies. New Air Maxes. Those were the days.
There you go.
Go around someone's house, listen to that CD.
I weren't wearing Nikes back then. I was wearing pairs of High-Tech, mate.
High-Tech. It was either High-Tech or Ascot.
Yeah, Ascot, High-Tech.
Do you remember Tracks?
I think... What were the ones that had the weird Velcro...
Tracks.
It was like... Was it? Yeah.
I think that was why they called it Tracks as well, like the Velcro straps.
Oh, no. Yes, that's kind of how we're feeling on the Xbox side of things.
You could get killed for wearing the wrong trainers back when you were a kid.
I know.
Just thinking about it, like, oh, you wearing those? Oh, I've got to end you. It's bad.
That's bad. It was reminding me back then the days of the Kappa Popper tracksuit bottoms.
Yep. Do you remember the Kappa coat that you could turn inside out to make a little bag?
Yeah, I think so.
Secondary school.
Alessi.
We've really, yeah.
Naff.
I knew a kid who got robbed for his Alessi socks, but
Really?
that's different. Yeah. Not sure what.
You might have a penchant for something else, but
a pungent for.
yeah. So that's our view on Xbox, and it kind of led the title for this. It's difficult situation for Phil to be in. Do I think he's necessarily lying outright? Look, business situations change on a dime. I think perhaps there was originally some good intentions there, and they've had to pivot. But that doesn't excuse things. Things change massively in the industry, and you have to, certain things aren't solid. But I just think that they should have said something. It was, rather than this, everyone. What was his line? If everyone plays, everyone wins, or something like that. It was more eloquently put.
Everyone wins when we all play, or something.
Or something like that. No. And if that's going to be his legacy, no, don't win. Look, if you can't afford all the consoles, tough. Go and trade it in. There's so much stuff that's multi-platform anyway.
You know what you're talking about? Let's make capitalism great again. You want to play this? Buy it, damn it.
Buy it. Go and buy that hardware. Oh,
God, don't we sound like hypocrites now? FYI, we've got all the hardware. We've got all.
No, we do, but
it's annoying.
Why do I care so much? That's the thing.
I'll buy 2 consoles instead of 3 next time round. That's really what it boils down to.
No, but I enjoy buying all the consoles. If I'm going to have the reason not to buy the console, any reason to buy one console anymore, what? No, that's a part of it. I enjoy buying all of the consoles. I even bought an Ouya back when it came out.
I remember that. Didn't the CEO look like Michael J. Fox?
I think something like that, but it was essentially what xCloud was trying to do way before it was ready.
Yeah.
But that's the thrill of it. Just don't take this away. You take the midnight launches away from us. Don't take the fucking, the hardware stuff away from us.
It's all going to be streaming one day. It's going, whether you like it or not. That's the next jump. Amazon Fire Sticks are going to start selling like hotcakes.
When you see these broadband outlets advertising 900 megabytes. Well, every time I do a speed check, I'm not getting 900 meg. So you're going to get degradation in performance. I don't see why you're going to throw all of this stuff down a streaming point. You can't do that.
I get the 900 meg. I just don't get the reliable meg. Mine goes down every day.
Or there's going to be some, new evolution on the hard, solid state front, or something that's even better than solid state, where the size all of a sudden becomes no object or something. And all of a sudden, it doesn't matter the size of it. It's become so cheap to buy these hard drives now that.
Well, it's increasing consumerism while providing less for less money.
Mm.
If you can check all those boxes, then you've got a product there.
But anyway, that's the console wars put to bed for another episode. Anyway. Before we go on to what we've been playing this week, we've actually got a couple of things I do want to, go into, which is part of the reason why we do this podcast. We'd like to talk about the games we actually play. But main takeaways from Gamescom then, we got a Borderlands 4 announced. I'm not excited for it. You're excited for it, but
I think I'm ready for another Borderlands, yeah.
They've got to really change. They've got to do an overhaul of the shooting mechanics, though.
We'll see. Maybe it's been enough time.
Hopefully.
Is Kevin Hart going to be in there? That's the question.
No idea.
Tommy Lee
Diablo
Curtis.
4. What did you say?
Tommy Lee Curtis.
Tommy Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis,
talk
sorry.
about Men in Black?
No, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh.
I got confused.
You're on about the movie. Oh, right. Yeah. No.
You think I'll make cameo appearances?
Well, Jack Black did Claptrap, so... Yeah.
Well, Jack Black ain't going to be hired for a very long time, especially as of lately.
But yeah, I'll quickly run through sort of the Gamescom stuff then. So we had Borderlands 4. We also had a new expansion. I think it was already announced basically at Summer Game Fest, but we saw some more Diablo 4. Obviously Black Ops 6. We saw some of that single player campaign. And again, I'm really hoping that there is the open mission types that are in Modern Warfare 3 versus it being totally linear, which is what made me bored of Call of Duty in the first place. So I really hope that they throw in some of that. But it looked interesting, but I didn't really see enough from it, because everything they showed around that single player campaign level looked very, very scripted and on rails in places. So I know the story's probably going to be excellent, but it has to be more than just an excellent story. I can't do another one of these campaigns again where set pieces kick off that are scripted, and so
phone tower comes crashing down, it just narrowly misses you, and someone's hanging off the edge of a building, you got to tap X to pull them up.
Where all of a sudden the game slows down whilst you make those critical kill shots, and you turn around the corner in a car like we saw in the footage itself. Less of that and more of you carving out your own way of meeting the objective would be nice. Obviously Starfield, we saw more around Shattered Space, which was good, and the new land vehicle that we've been teasing. I've got to carve out some time to jump back into Starfield and get myself in prime position for the Shattered Space DLC, although you said that it shouldn't really matter, but I would like to get those side factions.
I'm primed, I'm greased and ready.
I'm looking forward to it. Step back into that. It's going to be a little bit similar to if you were to step back into No Man's Sky. There's been so many graphical updates to the game now, and the FPS updates. I've got a feeling it could feel remarkably different.
You know, I just
realized
to
when we went through it. What's
29 days it releases.
Yeah,
Space.
It's not far away at all.
Yeah.
And we've got Star Trucker coming out in 3 days. Or it's already been out. I talk about this game constantly. They're getting free press. I guess the big surprise was a new Mafia game. The Old Country. We saw 10-15 seconds. It looks like it possibly is a prequel.
It could be a prequel because it's not numbered. So
yeah.
But this is the Mafia game that everyone has wanted. 2 was good. 3 was, I think 3 strayed way too far from what Mafia was known for. 1 was just, it was the old Italian mob in, New York City. And I think we're going to get a lot more of that. So,
yeah. And I guess a lot of these are honourable mentions. There's a exclusive Batman game coming to the MetaQuest. Dune Awakening looks like another game that you can waste your time crafting stuff and never know what quite you're going to use it for.
Sony's next. No, I'm joking.
Sid Meier's Civ 7. We'll move on swiftly from that. It's not our cup of tea. Genshin Impact is fine as well on the Xbox. Big game on the PS5 side of things. So the fact that we're seeing some of that happen was a good bit of news. Lost Souls aside, highlighted for its fast-paced combat and reminiscent of Devil May Cry. That was another game that was announced. And then Phil Molyneux's Masters of Albion, which is, well, we've got our reaction video on our YouTube channel if you want to go and watch that.
You're not just going to gloss over Phil Molyneux making an appearance again, are you?
Well, I mean, it was great to see him, but, again, as I said in the reaction, he just turns up right at the time when Fable are having their moment without him on the reboot, and all of a sudden he comes out of obscurity from that. And Pierre Molyneux's the type of guy that would do that, in my opinion. He doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to be out of the limelight.
I mean, he said that. He got the itch, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he came back into the gaming world.
So he's come back into it. It's going to be, I think it looks like a PC-only title, possibly, maybe mobile port. It looks like a game that could end up on a mobile phone, if I'm honest. But there's that. And then there is a reason to go and step back into Forza Horizon 5, guys, because I'm so looking forward to this. free piece of DLC. But ironically, how bad Gamescom's show was this year, that a piece of free extra content for Forza Horizon 5 is one of my highlights.
Yeah.
There is a hide and seek mode, game mode on multiplayer that is coming to Forza Horizon 5. I think it's around about into the just past the first week of September this is coming out. Now, the reason why I like it so much is because everyone's favourite Need for Speed game, for most people, was Most Wanted. And in Most Wanted, you had to evade the cops, and you had to find a hiding spot. Now, imagine that, rather than the cops, it's opponents that are trying to chase you down. So you get to use the map to your advantage and find places of which to hide, and then your car gets pinged, and then all of a sudden the chase is back on again, and you've got to try and hide again, and then eventually make it to the end of the round. Looks, for me, that game, that mode is I'm going to be bang on that. I'm so looking forward to it.
We might have to try that, get a convoy going.
Well, I'm really intrigued, because I think it was Forza Horizon 3. We did the co-op story stuff for Forza. Did you ever complete those co-op missions that are in the game?
Probably not.
Because I'm looking for an excuse to whack Forza Horizon 5 back on the machine at some point. But maybe that's the mode to do it. But look, I'll let you get through the other Forza or whatever that you're looking to chip away in the hard drive space. That's 140 odd gigabytes to back that on your machine again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think... I've got to get that thing off. It's just disrespectful at this point. 140 gig for a car game? I know it's nice looking, but what are we doing?
It's like Flight Simulator all over again, isn't it?
Well, at least Flight Sim has a lot of cloud stuff going on
We've
as
got
well.
the whole world, yeah.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, but... you know...
Well, speaking of those, let's talk about our play stack. Let's get into that. I'm going to try not to go over too many of mine. I'm going to focus on the ones that make sense, because I've been playing a lot of games over the last few weeks. It's been really enjoyable, but I don't know whether you wanted to start off with... What should we start off with? The one that we've played. This is newsworthy, really. Yeah. We both had a chance to get onto the Black Ops 6 beta.
Yeah.
Multiplayer beta, and curious to get your thoughts on it, because I've got my own, coming back from, stepping out and away from Call of Duty for 14 odd years, coming back and really enjoying Modern Warfare 3, and then playing this, and it's kind of changed up things for me. So what do you think this omnidirectional thing is much cop?
No.
Has it been overblown?
I think it's a gimmick, to be honest with you. I'll never claim to be a Call of Duty aficionado, but we've been playing a lot of Modern Warfare 3 online lately, and jumping into the BO6 beta, it honestly didn't feel too different. I mean, there's certain things that need polishing. There was a couple of frame stutters and stuff like that. And the biggest thing, obviously, the omnidirectional movement or mechanic. It works. I mean, essentially, for those that don't know, you hold the B button down depending on which direction you are, or the circle button depending on which direction you're facing or heading, and it'll dive in that direction. So if you're running forward, it'll dive. If you're moving backwards, it'll dive backwards, side to side, so on and so forth. Well, it's answered the question that we've kind of been wondering, and that is, will people spam it and will people take advantage of it to the point where it becomes stupid? The answer is no.
No, it's just positive, at least.
Yeah, and it had to be, because spamming something like that would have just made the game XDefiant, essentially, with the bunny hopping. But the problem is, I think that it's too slow. When you dive and you're on the floor, getting back up off the floor, it really breaks the flow of gameplay, especially online. I know why they've done it, to stop people spamming it, but it almost... After my first game using it, I didn't go back to it.
No?
I didn't go back to it. I still use the slide mechanic. That's kind of my go-to.
You not dolphin dive off the second floor of the apartment into the swimming pool?
That's a good idea.
That's what I did, yeah.
I have not, but sliding is definitely something I think you can kind of slide, get a kill, get back up and into the action a lot more fluidly than the omnidirectional dive. But other than that, looks like a Call of Duty game, plays like a Call of Duty game. The menus are Call of Duty. It's just more of what you know and love, really. And I think, again, we're at that point now where you don't want to deviate too much from it because then it won't be a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, I think for me it was interesting that my favourite thing was actually omnidirectional prone. The ability to be able to look around 360 degrees in that prone position now. As you know me, I like to take a little spot up occasionally, get the odd kill or two, and then run and find somewhere else. Well, I don't camp, stay there the whole round. I do it to get a couple of kills on the board.
Oh,
and
there's
then
rules to camping there. Got it.
Well, it's very different from camping in Rainbow Six because
that's true.
It was a whole different version of camping. But I thought that was good. I was expecting it to change the game a little bit more than what it actually did, because my thing now is when this comes out, and this is really interesting because unless you are someone that plays tons of Call of Duty, I mean loads and loads and loads. Now since it came on Game Pass, I've ranked up 80 odd levels right now. It has been the game I've predominantly been playing. But unless you are someone that has ranked up hundreds upon hundreds of levels, and you're bored of the maps in Modern Warfare 3, it's going to be difficult for me to want to go, and I'll be there for when it launches. I'll probably play it for a few weeks, but then I've invested so much time now already in Modern Warfare 3 of unlocking guns, doing all of this other stuff, getting familiar with the maps in Modern Warfare 3. Actually, I could be 12, 18 months down the line before I feel like I want to go on to Black Ops 6's multiplayer properly and get the freshness from it. Because at the moment, Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer is still fresh. It's the fact that I was playing a rotation of just 2 maps, predominantly for nearly a month. So I could really learn them and enjoy, especially the bait map. It's still one of my favourite maps. So for me, that's where I think it's kind of differed now, as opposed to if someone was to come in fresh and experience it for the first time, it would be an absolute game changer. But I don't feel so bad about this in terms of the fact it's on Game Pass. I'm not going to be paying $60. But for those that are going to go out and buy this game, that single player needs to deliver, because it isn't different enough from Modern Warfare 3 to warrant the 60 quid price tag or whatever it is, if you're only going to whack a campaign in there that's a couple of hours. So I don't even know how long this campaign is. I've been struggling to find how long this campaign is. But that's going to be pretty pivotal for anyone at least buying it. I'm going to be on Game Pass, so really it doesn't for me, but it's something worth considering anyway. So that was Black Ops 6, and before we go back to the rest of the games, it's worth mentioning that there is an interesting feature on Black Ops 6, and it's called Body Shield. So you can actually take someone as a hostage, and you've got proximity game chat when you take someone as hostage before you either decide to kill them or they get killed as a meat shield.
That's cool.
And you can speak to them, and there is some hilarious clips of conversations that have already been had in this proximity chat. I think it's a nice idea. Treyarch trying to bring back a little bit of that, the 360 days almost with some of that stuff, and I definitely recommend it. Next up on your list, you said you've had a little play of Guilty Gear Strive earlier today.
Yeah. Again, it's leaving today, actually, as the time of recording this, August 31st. So, shame I didn't get more time with this. My backlog is getting worse. But I thought, let me try and at least get some of those achievements. Got, I think, 350 Gs out of the 1,000 now. Might do one or two more by the end of today, and I love it. It's a beautiful game. It's really the art style that they've taken to achieve Guilty Gear Strive is definitely the next evolution in 2D fighting games. We've gone from those 2D sprites to, it's almost like they're hand-drawn cartoons just coming to life on screen. And Dragon Ball FighterZ did a good job of this as well. selfishly, I'd love to see a spin-off Street Fighter game in that style, whether they do Alpha 4 or some other, version of a spin-off game. I'd love to see it, but no, I had some good fun with it.
Nice. And just looking at your list, obviously you did Vampire Survivors, and Modern Warfare 3's been the multiplayer side of things, hasn't it?
It's been a busy week, my day job. Let's just put it that way.
Well, looking at my list, is there any ones you want to probe in terms of some of these maybe odd sounding games, some interesting games?
Well, I'm looking
because I've got quite a list.
I see PJ Tour Masters, and I definitely don't want to go into that.
No, that's fine. We can skip. We talked about that last episode anyway.
Let's talk about Battlefield Hardline. This is a game that gets a lot of crap thrown its way. How have you found it?
I've enjoyed it. I'm only on Act 4 at the moment.
Because it's a game that is regularly sold at $2.99 everywhere.
Oh yeah,
all times of the year.
Cheapest chips.
But it's not a $2.99 game. It's actually decent.
No, it is good. It's really showing its age now. I'm not going to lie. But it was nice to actually see that, because when you went from the Xbox One over to the Series consoles, the lines were blurred until very later on the cycle. This game, you can really tell the draw distance is struggling. You could tell the anti-aliasing is absolutely struggling. It's not a pretty game now, but I like the concept of this NCISC, type of cop sort of situation. I just think that the characters, if the characters were stronger, I really think they probably would have went on and said, you know what, there's a great opportunity to have this series run on into, another subset of EA's, side of things for Battlefield. Because if you create a really compelling narrative around it, and I'm just at the point where you're seeing a bit of a double cross, so maybe the story will get a bit more interesting, but those opening few acts, you're kind of like, yeah, I get it, he's a drug dealer, yeah, I get it, they've stuck stuff in it, I'm playing it for progressing through it, the interest of having the opportunity to either arrest people and kill them, and seeing those narratives happen after you complete a mission. So if you kind of, gun everyone down, you kind of get a little bit of a dressing down. But yeah, it's dated. The gun mechanics definitely don't feel great, but I'm enjoying it. And they've got some nice set pieces in there, like the Bayou mission where you go around on what are they called, like a hoverboat or something like that, and you got to sniff out the packages and. But yeah, it's. I wish I'd played it when it came out, but I'm still going to finish it. It's good enough to finish.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one of those games that, another 5 years from now, you're going to struggle to want to play it.
Another 5 years from now, John Linneman at Digital Foundry is going to pick it up and make a DF retro video out of it. But I played it maybe 2 years after it came out.
Yeah.
And like you, I really enjoyed it. And this is during the time where Battlefield was actually considered a good game. Yeah. After what happened with 2042, they've got a lot of regrouping to do before they can ever bring out another game. Because they've had a bit of a tumultuous history, 1, 2, and 3 were considered really good, and then 4 got a bit shaky. I think 4 was a launch title on the Xbox One, if I'm not mistaken. So that was not considered great. Some great weather effects, but it was one of those.
Great multiplayer. That was so revered, the multiplayer on 4.
I think for me, 3 took the cake. 3 was just incredible. And that was the first game I think I experienced surround sound in with headphones. Because the way that. Till this day, I still don't think I have experienced multiplayer, bullets with pinpoint accuracy as well as I did with Battlefield 3. That game, if I heard it sort of in my back left ear, I'd turn in that direction and there'd be someone there. I just haven't gotten that same accuracy anywhere else, even though we've got better technologies nowadays. So I enjoyed it. I found the missions quite, varying and interesting. You've got some, out there missions, like you said, the bayou, and then you've got some you've got to sneak into a mansion, and then there's others, you've got to play that good cop, bad cop kind of thing. I think there's definitely a space for more like that now.
Do you know what's really interesting? It mechanically feels very similar to Crime Boss Rocky City from a mechanics view. Obviously, they had a lot more money than the Crime Boss developers, but it kind of felt like that. They had that down. Obviously, Crime Boss looks nicer, but there's that similar feel about the guns, about the movement style and all of that stuff. I will say, though, that the female cop that you hang around with doesn't know how to stay out of the way. There's been a couple of times where she set the people off, and I'm trying to stealth the level.
Yeah, there's
the idiot gets in the way.
There's a sexist joke in there somewhere.
But that was that one. I'll let you take another pick from the list here. I'll avoid the snooker one because there's nothing really to talk about.
Honestly, I think that's probably about it. You definitely like to go a little bit more into the weeds than I do with some of these games. Truck Simulator probably wouldn't have gone into that. PJ Tour.
That's truck racing.
Truck racing, sorry.
Yeah.
I think that's probably it. Paintball mode. I mean, paintball was cool. We played on Modern Warfare 3 again.
Yeah.
1 or 2 rounds. It was all right. And that was it.
Yeah. Well, I'll fire off a couple really quick. So, I've been playing Soccer Story, which is an RPG game that's based. It's set around this big corporation has decided to deem that soccer is too dangerous to play, and you find a magical ball, and you're trying to revitalize your town to play soccer again, and then you do a whole bunch of side missions and fetch quests, and before you can eventually play football, and it's rinse repeat, unlock new areas. Think Zelda from a top-down RPG point of view, walking around, and you're doing side missions. Like, ended up having to play a bunch of OAPs for one of the matches. You have to go into a care home and recruit them. It's a little mad.
It sounds interesting, actually, now that you've put it into that perspective.
It's in your category of soccer, actually.
Really?
Yes, in terms of gameplay mechanics. Whether you can stomach the amount of these side quests, that's another question, because you do end up having to play for about an hour before you can even get your first match, because there's the underlying storyline around it before you can get into your first tournament.
There's definitely an angle of ingenuity there. I haven't really heard of a football RPG that
and it's not based around the footballer's lifestyle either. It's just around about, it's totally different. You play as a girl, and she likes football, and it got banned all of a sudden. It's one of these ones you can pick up an hour, and then I'll leave it, and then pick up another hour when I want something slower pace. So I think I will continue with it because I've just won my first cup. It might be worth, because it seems to be never leaving Game Pass, that game, to at least dunk in for a couple of minutes. I'm going to be really quick on the last one. I played a game called Poe and Monroe, which was an FMV game, and it has the worst acting ever. Awful. Absolute awful. It was a 1000G, I'm just going to sit back, press buttons, and let it go.
Do its thing.
This is disgusting acting in this game. I really regret buying it because it doesn't go by quickly.
It's paid.
What do you mean?
I thought this was a Game Pass game.
No, I paid for it to get an easy 1000G. It was on sale.
How much?
I can't remember. It was like a couple of quid tops. But it is awful, and I'll let you check out the trailer for it when you get a chance. But the last one I just wanted to talk about was Vladik Brutal, which is... This game is absolutely fantastic. Made by a Russian developer, and he's gone and self-made a game totally inspired from Half-Life. But imagine all of the improved graphics that you've got now. The difference being the start of the game, you're in prison, and you get sent to like a mandatory work camp at the beginning, and you're basically you're pretty much fodder for setting off this experiment. So they didn't care whether you were going to die or not. It goes the way of similar vein of what happens in the beginning of Half-Life, and then you've got to go and fight your way out of it. Bearing in mind I'm playing this on my Steam Deck, this game made me jump. I've screamed, everything. Some of the enemies in this game are absolutely fantastic. There's blood, gore, everything. Just one of these little hidden gems on Steam. And I'd recommend anyone at least to go check out the trailer to see what this is about. There's some really cool enemies in this. And had to use the Proton debugging tool to get it working, because it's running on DirectX 11. So that pretty much wraps up the games that we've been playing for this week, and we're going to dive straight into our next news story, which is very interesting indeed. PlayStation are in a bit of pain at the moment surrounding the game that was in development for 8 years, Concord. And well, give us the details here, because this ain't pretty reading at all, is it?
No, so according to the Steam DB data, the peak number of players was 697. Not 1,000, wow. Just 697. And at the time of writing this, we're kind of hovering around 200 players. Apparently the game was really disliked due to the game's DEI treatment and the fact that it was pretty much sat in development for 8 years. And then went into the live service games route. I mean, look, you could see our reaction on one of our previous videos. Yeah. It was just a Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff. Add that to the fact that it was, a paid free-to-play, if that makes sense. A paid free-to-play game. I mean, this game really should have been free-to-play, to be honest with you.
It should, and I think that's their only way out of this. That's their only way out of this now. Yeah. They need to refund the people that bought it. Yeah. And not enough people have bought it, they could probably afford to do it. They make the thing free, and they hope for the best. I mean, that's all they can do at this point.
Thing is, the game looks pretty. It looks PlayStation-y, all right? And that's really all it's got going for it. But do we need another Overwatch? Because this is the closest thing I look at, that compare it to when I look at it. No, we don't need it.
No, definitely
Will we
not.
see PlayStation's first game come over to Xbox in Phil Spencer fashion?
Well, at this point, they'll probably give it away for free.
Knowing Phil, he'll beg for this one.
You reckon? What? Because it's got ticks all the boxes.
It's a low-hanging fruit.
I don't know. I mean, we saw, obviously, we did our extended reaction to it. This whole live service thing, you're going to get that interest. I mean, the live service game that's really just done well, when you think about it, was Destiny. They've done nearly 10 years of coverage, support for that game. All of it's not, granted, it's not my cup of tea, but that was something that worked. And this model, since then, since Destiny was, it's gone all free now. So they probably was, developing a lot of this where those types of games, the model was paid, now it's free, and it doesn't help with the characters in this. It really doesn't. There's nothing in here to appetize anyone. There really isn't. I mean, one of the characters in it, my goodness me. I can't remember, Sal. They've all got kind of weird names in it.
Sai or something?
It's had the full-on, whether it's Sweet Baby or not, but it's had the full-on treatment to it. And the fact that Sony spent so much of their state of play on this game, and all of these Hollywood-style, CGI, episodic storyline narratives, I mean, how many of them were actually pre-done that they were going to release, or how many of them they were still working on that aren't cheap to produce, makes you wonder what they're going to do with it. I mean, if the only way to save it now is to refund people and make the thing free. I mean, it's just absolutely died on its backside.
I mean, in a game like this, do you really care about the story? Probably not. I mean, give it an overarching story, or bad versus good, you got to do this to stop that from happening. All right, fine, that's all I need. But no, you're right. They what was it, 20 odd minutes at the
It just went on and on.
Yeah. I went back and actually watched other YouTubers' reactions to that. And it's uncanny how many people echoed the same sentiments that you and I had watching this. Like, Why is this going on so long? It looks like Guardians of the Galaxy. Are we still watching this? Like, the show's almost... Because I think if I remember correctly, Sony said, it's a 45-minute show. And there we are, 25 minutes into it, still talking about it. I'm just like, what is this? Yeah.
It does make me wonder whether they thought, if we can make a hit out of this, is there a possibility of using Sony Pictures to do actual something else with it, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just seemed a lot front-run into that production value of the actual, these episodic updates. But, you're not going to have... Not every one of these games, as we've seen with so many, they ain't going to be a fortnight just because Sony have released it, And speaking of which...
Yeah.
Speaking of which... There's been some news about another one that's in the same genre, by the way, around XDefiant. We're talking about it again here. XDefiant is supposedly on borrowed time, according to Insider Gaming. So this is inside source because it's not on Steam, so you can't get your Steam DB stuff for this. But supposedly, on an inside source basis, that they are struggling to get 20,000. Now, by comparison to Concord, it's very different, but still, it's showing a downward trend. And Paul Tassi from Forbes was wondering, well, what's happened to XDefiant? Well, we could tell you, 'cause it's blue in the face as to why people have stopped playing that game, because we've gone blue in the face on it on this podcast. That's why people are tuning out. But yes, apparently, supposedly, Ubisoft are going to give it till Season 3, which I think we're still on Season 1 at the moment.
Yeah.
To see if they can turn around the fortunes of that. Now, I know there has been, since we last dipped in, I think we got a taste, actually, of one of the new maps.
Mm-hmm. Clubhouse.
With it, Clubhouse, and that's actually half decent match. It's a shame about the the hit detection. And then there is also the Rockefeller map, which is pretty decent as well. So
yeah,
we'll see. I know that there's supposedly a map from Steep and a map from their driving game, but they've got to change things. Well, they've got to get rid of the problems. The problem is, and I'll say it, we saw it from the blueprint.
Yeah,
you need skills-based matchmaking if you're gonna keep the player numbers in that game. You can't go on an 8, 9, 10 match losing streak, as is what happens when you play that game, and just people are just going to keep taking it. I'm losing again. I'm going to still keep to play this game regardless of the problems, which is a big part of it. But if that is how it's going to run as well.
This is going to be one of those rare exceptions where I don't think we can say regardless of the problems, because you add an 8, 9, 10 losing streak on top of the hit detection where you think you probably should have gotten way more kills than you actually did, and it's not a good experience. It takes all the fun out of it, which is a shame. I really, really wanted to enjoy it, but now that I look at it in hindsight, I think that I was just probably yearning for some Call of Duty. Because since having picked up Modern Warfare 3, it's just like, this is what I was hoping for. This is what I needed. This is what I wanted.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The thought of going over to XDefiant again is just cringy. I'm just waiting for that patch where they fix that MVP achievement.
That's it.
And if they're going to do right by the users, then they won't have to make us work for it again. Just detect that we've had another MVP since then and just unlock the achievement as soon as I boot the game up. So I can
uninstall it, but they'll probably patch it and add some new achievements now in your luck.
Well, when their numbers are sinking, they'll probably want us to play it and earn it again, which I'm not going to do.
Probably. But, from an Ubisoft point of view, it was a hell of a lot more successful than Hyperscape. That game was awful. But yeah, they have to make some major changes if they want to.
I'll say it now, XDefiant is going to turn into a small game with a very hardcore cult following eventually. That's all. And there'll be one of these games that eventually will become open source and people will hack it to death, and then they'll fix the hit detection, and then it will just be one of those modded games that just lives on forever.
Oh, you could be right, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Whether it be enough for the developers to keep putting money behind it, I don't know. But anyway, as soon as Modern Warfare 3 came out, I wonder how many people tailed off.
I'd love to know.
I wonder how many people bled out when Modern Warfare 3 arrived on Game Pass.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Where should we go next? Should we talk about the PS5 Pro?
Let's talk about the PS5 Pro leak. Yeah, let's do it.
So, we've seen some... Well, we saw originally what looked like an MS Paint depiction of what this thing is going to look like. It's now dubbed the Adidas Striped PS5 Pro. As it looks very similar to a PS5 Slim, but with these 3 vents on the side of it. And then we saw a better looking type of render on it, but I still think this is mock-up. I don't think this is full leaks, personally.
Yeah.
But it's looking around about the supposedly, what was it, 33.5 teraflops?
Yeah, it's hovering around that. I think let's talk about the design again. So, if those that don't remember or haven't seen one recently, a PS5 Slim, it has this line alongside both of it. You know, you can kind of take the panels off into 4 quadrants.
Yeah.
And the Pro, it just has this line kind of 3 times, if that makes sense. Now, if it's a Pro, and considering how big and chunky the original PS5 is, this is not going to be the same size as the PS5 Slim. It's going to look like the Slim, but I got a feeling it's going to be big, if not bigger than the original PS5.
Oh, you reckon?
I reckon, because there's no way you can fit
God.
a 33.5 teraflop machine into the space of a PS5 Slim when the original one couldn't even do it.
Yeah.
And remember, this is the first gen of the new hardware. Because whether it's a mid-gen refresh or next gen, it's still new hardware. So it's going to be the first iteration of its kind, first configuration that they've put together in this spec, you know, so it's going to be big. Yeah, you know, we're grasping at straws here. It's going to look ugly, we know it.
It can't be bigger than the PS5. It's officially the largest console that exists.
I kind of want it to be bigger than the PS5. I need a good laugh. It's been a hard year. But no one's going to be laughing when this thing runs GTA 6 better than anything else out there. That's a fact.
That's true. It's true indeed. The positioning on it for you, is it going to be... I mean, we always talk about... I mean, everyone's talking about PS5 Pro for GTA 6. And that's all people are talking about. They're not talking about it for other games. It's just GTA 6.
I know I said I want to dive headfirst into the Sony ecosystem. I don't know if that starts with PS5 Pro or if I wait to the 6.
Yeah.
I'm more leaning towards the 6 because I know what's going to happen. Rockstar always do this. They'll release, you know, Gen 1 of GTA 6 on current hardware.
Yeah.
Then the next gen version will come out, and then there'll be a next gen prepaid plus version. Then PC will get it eventually. So,
yeah.
you know, I don't know if you remember the 360 versions of GTA 5, how, you know, it wasn't great.
No.
It worked, but the draw distances were really short. And some of those faster cars, like the Lamborghini looking ones, they had like speed limiters on them, so they wouldn't exceed the speed at which the system drew the world in front of you. They had to do it.
Oh, they really? They masked that pretty well for me.
They did. And they've done it historically, actually. San Andreas was another one that really pushed PS2. But yeah, Rockstar, they don't hold back. They are going to push every ounce of every, you know, teraflop out of the system. I need to see the Digital Foundry on this one. Absolutely. I need to see a
John Linneman touch. Yeah.
This is where his meaty, thick-fingered touch comes into it. I need to see what it looks like on a Series X. I need to see what it looks like on a PS5 Pro, and also, more importantly, I want to know what Microsoft is going to do about the parity issue behind this. Have they thought about this? Because I'll tell you something, you're not going to get
Away
GTA
with
6.
releasing that delayed.
I'll tell you something. I think there's 2 concerns here. One, it's not going to run anything close to the Series X version. But 2, storage space. This is not going to be a small game. I'm going to say it now. This is going to break records.
You reckon?
I know. We are. What are we? We're talking like, what's probably the biggest game? Call of Duty. It's around the 250.
But did they not say to Rockstar was? So this is what I heard. Was that there was supposedly they're going to release this game, which is going to have additional single player bolted on with free updates.
What, GTA 6?
I could be wrong. I had something around something to that ilk. That they're actually going to develop further single player stuff for this, and they're going to release a game. But now they can't surely get away with releasing half a game just so it gets released.
Well, GTA Online was the moneymaker, and that's what ultimately cancelled the DLC for GTA 5. They had two single player DLC packs confirmed, and they just never came out because of the success of online. But what was interesting is what they did for GTA 5 when it first launched on Xbox 360 and PS3 is that multiplayer was still being worked on at the time. So if you remember, when GTA 5 came out, they promised that GTA Online would come out 30 days after launch. So they did that deliberately to kind of not only give it the polish and finalize things, but they knew that when people jumped online, they weren't going to touch the single player. Yeah. And the single player is where the magic actually is. This is one of the games where I want to play only in single player. I don't really care about GTA Online, if I'm honest. No. It's just havoc.
It is. It's very toxic as well. It's the most toxic game I've ever played.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it, as we've always said.
But PS5 Pro, I mean, they're asking a lot of money. You know it's going to be $500 plus, £500 plus. What have they got coming out that you're excited about? I mean, let's be honest. Is Death Stranding 2 enough to push this? GTA 6 could... I definitely think you could get an uptake in sales because of GTA 6. Death Stranding 2, probably not. Wolverine as a character is much slower than Spider-Man at traversing the world, so it wouldn't need really more hardware, so they can get away with it. Unless there's other titles we don't know about. I don't...
Well, this begs the question, because supposedly this is going to come out this year.
Oh, I just realised what they're going to do.
What?
Spider-Man Remaster 2, the Uncharted Collection 3.
No. They're going to do it all over again.
I'm telling you, we've polished Astrobot.
Sony's revenue stream at this point.
Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut 2, and they'll charge you $10 or $20 for it.
For the graphics upgrade, yeah.
They've always done it.
Ugh.
What?
No.
What in their current catalogue would you pay for to see looking good on this?
Nothing. Nothing. Don't turn the thing on as it is. Nothing. This is why I'm going to say it ain't coming out this year. I don't think it's going to come out this year. It would make more sense for them to bring it out on the day that GTA 6 launches.
As a bundled code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what game is going to really, harness it at this point when you've got video games that are already in development? Makes you wonder. And
I think there's a bit of tone deafness going on over at Sony. With all these, massive online free-to-play type games coming out with Helldivers and Concord, and there's probably a few others I'm forgetting. The first-party roadmap's not looking strong at all. Why are we putting hardware out when there's nothing to run it? It's a bit weird.
I think they're looking for, maybe a Christmas boost, but we've also got to remember people have not got the same money they had 4 or 5 years ago as well.
There's that too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a hardware guy. I love hardware. I love new hardware. I'll always want the most powerful hardware out there. But for the first time, I'm putting myself in the shoes of a PlayStation fanboy. What do I want on there? GTA 6 is literally the only thing I can think of. And I don't think that's going to be enough.
No, it's interesting.
Timing's weird as well, especially when we're supposed to be getting the new Xbox generation in 2026. So if this comes out, I don't think it'll come out this year. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think it'll be early next year, if anything, or mid next year. But then that's less than a year away from next gen, potentially. So it's
I'm just trying to think of the gap between the PS4 Pro and the PS5. There was still a couple of years, wasn't there?
Yeah, so the Pro came out 3.5 years afterwards, I think. And we're into the 5th year now, aren't we? Because 2019 was when this generation launched. Yeah, we're 5 years in now. So next year we start getting announcements. The year after we'll get the release. So 7 years. Yeah, it's usually about 7 years.
Yeah.
It's weird. Something's off, and I don't know. But what this is going to really do is going to throw. I'm going to say it now. It's going to be a failure, and it's going to throw the community into a frenzy, because then you're going to have this disparity between what Sony's doing versus what Xbox doing. They're always going to be playing Tom and Jerry, cat and mouse. Xbox will release something more powerful, and then 2 years later, Sony will release something more powerful, and then
But then developers, if they're multi-plat developers, will lock it to.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to start getting the what was it called, the Mega Drive Genesis versus Super Nintendo issue again, where you had IPs that play completely different across two systems. Like Lion King, for example, is a completely different game on Super NES than it is to Mega Drive. Street Fighter played like absolute dog shite on Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Worked amazing on Super NES.
Yeah.
So you start getting a lot of that again right now. And
will they do that though? Because didn't we have this situation with a couple of these multi-plat Xbox titles where developers said, "Look, we're not getting the full power out of what this Series X can do because we're having to benchmark it against what the PS5 can do."
Yeah, but that's all because of the agreements they signed. It was, I think it was in the end of user license agreement that developers signed for publishing on the PlayStation Store.
Right.
So even if they have got the technical expertise to do so and the funding to do so,
yeah,
it doesn't mean anything, because if Sony are going to hold the whole industry hostage because they've got the bigger market share, then this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Xbox had the perfect opportunity to say Indiana Jones is not coming out on PlayStation and start bringing some more of those people over there. And then eventually they'll have to drop those agreements and say, okay, we need to get market share back.
Yeah.
This is why I think Microsoft have just fallen flat on their face.
Yeah.
And actually, I hope that Indiana Jones, and I don't say this often, I hope it falls flat on PlayStation.
Speaking of which, of GTA 6, by the way, the price. I think we could be seeing our first £80 game.
You reckon?
I've got a feeling, I don't know why, I've just got a feeling that this might come out at something like 80 odd quid. And the rumours are that developers out there are going to see what Rockstar does with some of their prices and then try and, unjustifiably as well, given some of the releases, we just had Outlaws come out and I've seen some real shockers on that from Ubisoft. That if they try and bring that pricing in line, their supposed AAAs versus a Rockstar game, I don't think people are going to take that.
They're not. But if there is a game that can do it, it will be Grand Theft Auto. But then people will try it, but then people are going to have to go, you know what? Not every game is a AAA game, or not even a quadruple A game. I think we've got to invent a new grading system for anything over, you know. This has been a rumor for a few years now.
Yeah.
And the reason
Rockstar would be nice if they said, you know what, we're going to release it at 50 because we know we're going to sell that many copies, and now you guys are going to be put into a situation where actually your $70 games ain't going to, or whatever they're selling them at, aren't going to wash anymore, skull and bones.
And don't forget, it'll be 80 on PS5 Pro for that upgrade patch. GTA 6 is probably the only game I will do that for. Pay over the odds on day one, just because of how long it's been since we had a GTA game. But, I mean, just to whet everyone's appetite a little bit, they are saying that the size of GTA 6, we know they're going to pack this thing dense. They've never fallen short on that. They said that the map on GTA 6 has 5 main cities. So if you think of the map as a state, the equivalent of Florida, and on that map there's 5 main cities, and each city is equivalent in size and scope as the main downtown area as GTA 5.
Really? Wow.
So not only have you got the vastness of it, you've got the denseness of these cities, plus all the in-between countryside and desert, and also they've been saying that they focused a lot on oceanic as well, because Florida, or whatever they call this one, Vice City, is heavily surrounded by water. So there's a lot of underwater, on-water stuff. There's a couple of islands I've heard are rumoured. equivalents of like equivalents of
Epstein.
like equivalents of like Cuba and Bahamas. You got to think about the speedboat drug trade as well, Florida, Scarface, all that kind of stuff. You can go to different islands. This is going to be monumental if any of this pans out to be true.
Well, I'd love to see something. I thought I know Rockstar can do their own scheduling, but I was hoping to see a new trailer.
Nah.
We haven't had it yet.
When did we get trailer 1? I've got to look this up because we're on the brink of trailer 2.
It was early this year, wasn't it?
Let's have a quick look. December 4th.
Oh, last year, was it?
December 4th. So we're coming up on a year. So I know a lot of people weren't happy about that 2-year release date at the end, but we're halfway through it, guys. We're almost there.
Yeah, almost there. Indeed. Speaking of which, who won't be doing a release date anytime soon, the developers behind Dustborn. This has got to be the stupidest. Now, I remember when we saw this game announced as well, I was like, what on earth's going on here? This looks absolutely ridiculous. Well, anyway, this game, and I've seen a lot of footage of it. There was a brilliant thread from someone on X who went into the game about just how disgusting this game is. It's basically, in a nutshell, it's received a lot of flack of being basically pushing an agenda in this game. It's received funding from the European Union. It's received funding from...
That's what you got to say.
I think it's some places in Canada. And there's been a big community backlash involved in it. Anyway, it is... The developers absolutely hated the T-Man. And they said they were so excited because this is going to be their depiction, or it had something to do with what happened with the US elections back in 2016, which was a big driver behind why they wanted to create this game. In this game, you use intimidation tactics, you use bullying tactics, you use every cancel culture in order to get your way in this game. And the evildoers in the game, you could probably think of maybe like something that is those people on that side of the agenda are how they really think about what Republicans are. So it feels like a commentary on that. Well, now they're playing the victim. The developers have come out and they've pretty much said, even though all of these tactics that are in this game, you know, basically bullying people, cancelling people that have characters in the game that have done nothing wrong as well. The community has come out. Red Thread Games has said, since we announced Dustborn, we've read your comments and listened to your feedback, hopes and wishes for the game. Over the past 4 years, our team has poured their hearts into telling a story that's deeply meaningful to us. A story of the power of words.
Ugh.
About building a world where everyone can feel safe.
Oh, God.
About love, friendships, and robots, of course.
What? Hey?
Robots, I don't know. This is where, well, you know, that's...
All right, you lost
anyway,
me there.
Wow, you know, that's what's going to be the future single relationships with robots, isn't it? You know what it could be like. We expected Dustborn to spark conversation and debate and looked forward to engaging with our players in a positive, constructive fashion. Unfortunately, that conversation has been drowned out by a tidal wave of hate and abuse. Bearing in mind, this company locks their replies on X, doesn't allow discourse between, if you disagree with them, they would just literally lock their replies. Yes, there are people that have come out and probably over-egged it and gone, you know, because they're angry about how blatantly this game is trying to put a political message across. But they lock the replies. You can't engage in any civil discourse with them. It's typical tactics. And they come out with this statement and said, we've been drowned out by a tidal wave of hate and abuse. We welcome thoughtful feedback and respectful criticism. Well, no, you don't, because you already locking replies on X. We embrace discussion and debate. No, you don't. But we have zero tolerance for hate speech, harassment, and threats of any kind. Those who engage in such behaviour will be removed from our community. To everyone else, thank you for continuing this journey with us. Your support means blah, 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 blah. This game has absolutely died on its backside. Last time I checked, there was only 62 people playing this on Steam, DB. It's another game that's had the treatment that is full, and it's being collectively rejected by gamers at this point. They can keep trying to put this stuff in, whether it's to meet ESG goals or what, but people are having none of it.
Can we just talk about the timing
they've had
of
enough.
this?
The timing with the election coming up.
Oh yeah, it's just perfect timing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just, honestly, you have to check some of this gameplay out yourself. I couldn't believe it. It is the most flagrant example of trying to socially engineer people in a video game I've ever seen ever.
Well, I tell you how they would get me. Just put 1,000 easy G's in there, and they've got my vote.
I don't even know if you'll even want to complete it, mate. Trust me.
If I got to work for this, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the funding controversies of taxpayer money. Supposedly, there's stolen assets and all other stuff in this game as well. So
at least they stay true to that side of the fence.
So they're getting collectively panned. The game has done awfully, and it's got what it's deserved. To be honest, I'm not a fan of politics in games. Full stop.
Yeah.
And they keep trying to enter it in, and the zeitgeist is that everyone doesn't like it in the video games. All the while we have this conversation right now. Brazil has officially banned X in their country. Anyway, that rounds up my annoyance with that. A bit of a weird one, this. And obviously we saw that Square Enix was going to start to get into the space of opening up some more stuff for Xbox potentially. Again, from Jez, who said about the MT framework stuff, I take this with a pinch of salt, to be honest with you. I think this is cope, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So this supposedly the likelihood that more stuff from Square Enix on the Final Fantasy side of things is going to be coming to Xbox. Now, I would say the online stuff, perhaps, but is Final Fantasy VII Retrograde and Rebirth realistically going to come to Xbox at Tokyo Game Show this year? No. It's not passing the sniff test for me.
No, it's simple because there's agreements signed. The same way that after Microsoft bought Bethesda, they still had to release Tokyo Wire on PlayStation, and what was the other one? There was 2 games at the time. Deathloop.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Sony own the rights to that. I don't know if it's timed. I don't know if it's permanent, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And considering that there is part 3 of Final Fantasy VII eventually coming up, I doubt that those timed, if it was a timed exclusivity, I doubt it would be now. It would be after all 3 parts have come and gone, the buzz has died down, and then it's like, okay, let's see if we can make a few more quid off of this. Then I could see it making sense, but not before the trilogy's out.
No. I don't know. I thought I'd include it in there, but I'm very sceptical on it. I don't buy it, to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong, it'd be nice, but
I am glad that the Square Enix execs are now seeing the importance of the Xbox platform, because a lot of time you tend to find people go for one or the majority of the platforms and then say, oh, Xbox only has like 20-30% market share, let's forget it. Even indie developers, the developers of Oxenfree, they did the same thing with Oxenfree too.
Yeah.
Not being on
still
Xbox.
hasn't found its way.
Still hasn't found its way on Xbox.
No.
And that's an indie game. Doesn't really require anything other than changing button prompts on screen from triangle, circle, X to A, B, C.
Yeah.
It's really the difference.
I don't know. Anyway, I think that's us done, but I mean, it just feels a little somber.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, again, we find ourselves in this situation, as we did off the back of the Hellblade 2 stuff, just in this, I've got all the consoles, but I want Microsoft to have a win. They had that at Summer Game Fest. Imagine just literally all of a sudden, you had that momentum and you've gone and messed it up.
I completely forgot. How do you go from having arguably the best ever Summer Game Showcase game show to this?
I know.
Oh, that's bad. Yeah,
it's bad. It's just Unbelievable.
Well, hopefully we're in a better mood for the next show.
Oh, hopefully, yeah, indeed. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We shall catch you guys for a next episode very soon, or some point in the future, usual rotation. And, yeah, if you're still listening, let us know what your thoughts are about Xbox at the moment, because, well, hopefully you're a bit more positive than what we are, but it's difficult to keep positive right now. We'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.